This conference will now be recorded.
This is Dr. Shabazz, Strategies for Success Class, South University, UVC 1000. And with us today as our guest speaker is Mr. Michael Chamblain. Mr. Michael Chamblain, we appreciate you being here with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you're a former professional basketball player, you're a sports agent, you used to be a trainer, you're co-owner of Bnei Herzliya, an Israeli basketball team, and you also have your hand in so many other businesses, and you're an author, you write. Will you please share with us what exactly is your definition of success?
My personal definition is just being able to be happy with what you're doing. It doesn't have to necessarily have a monetary value on it. I don't think that makes anyone successful because there are people that make a lot of money and they don't feel like they're happy. So I think being in a position to do things that you want to do is the biggest part of success to me.
But we talk often about career transition, and you're not like the average sports agent. You're not, because the average sports agent is not as concerned with a player's professional development. They're
Right.
not concerned with a player's career plans for career transition, and you harp on that all of the time. So we have to ask you, could you take us back to how in the heck did you make the transition? It's not done often, from a pro basketball player to a trainer to a sports agent.
The main thing was just always being somewhere where I can learn. I played professional basketball, but I didn't play in the NBA. So I was always trying to be around people that were better or smarter or whatever I was looking for to gain that knowledge. So, being around better players will allow you to become a better player yourself. Being around other business people that have been able to sustain their business over a long period of time, it helps you learn what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So I've tried to just always learn from others, and that includes others' mistakes, and just say, hey, if that worked for them, but this didn't work for them, like why would I do it if it didn't work for them? So just trying to cut out certain pieces. I know a lot of people say you learn along the way, but if someone else already did, then there's no reason for me to, do the same thing. So, with thinking about that and into transitioning, it was just, what is the next thing that can preserve longevity? So you can't play forever. As I was training and coaching, you really start to, your body takes a toll doing those type of things too. So, obviously I want to live a long, healthy life. And oftentimes when you're physically involved in something, because you're not the one that's on TV, many people don't understand, like the assistant coaches and the head coach, maybe even, they do a lot on the court too in practice, but that just means that they don't get paid millions to for someone to watch them. So if you look at an NBA roster that, you're a team that someone may follow, and you say, hey, there's a lot of players injured, like what's going on? If there's a lot of players injured, and then you have older players that sit out of practice, like a lot of them don't practice every day, those assistant coaches have to practice. And imagine being the average size human. Now you're supposed to guard and go up against the not so average size human, and you get beat up. But people don't see those bruises and scars under a suit when you're sitting on the bench during the game. They only see you for a glimpse on TV. So that was something that, again, I learned along the way. It was, hey, it can be forever, but it's not what I want for myself. So seeing a lot of my friends get into coaching, I only saw it as one way. And at that point, that was my way of success. It was the flexibility to have my time and do what I wanted it to be. And I said, if I'm not going to be John Calipari or Mike Krzyzewski, like I don't want to do it. So, and everyone can't be them. So, like, you want to be at the top or not. So I said, hey, I don't want to. I don't want to go the road that a lot of coaches have to go to get to the highest place. and it could never, sometimes it doesn't happen. Like some players and become head coaches right after they play, and some coaches never become a head coach ever in their career, 60, 70 years old, and they never got a shot. So I knew that isn't what I wanted. So I started just figuring out what's next, or what's better than this, what is something that I can use my mind for, not as much as my body.
How did you eventually land a role as co-owner of the Israeli basketball club, Bnei Herzliya?
It was focusing on a career transition for a client at the time, and looking at different things that other athletes have done. Like I got the idea from LeBron and his manager and his business partner Maverick Carter, because at the time when I was meeting with Maverick, they're both co-owners of Liverpool. It's a soccer team in England. So I got the idea there, and it's on a much bigger scale, obviously, because that's one of the most valuable sports teams in the world. But just looking at how, hey, not everyone is LeBron, but you have the same platform. Just do it on a smaller level. Like say LeBron has 50 million followers on Instagram or whatever it might be, like, hey, you have a few 100,000, like that's not LeBron size, but it's not small. So like, how do you use what you have rather than, saying, hey, like everyone wants to be LeBron, everyone wants to be Jay-Z, everyone wants to be Beyonce, but there's so many other people that are successful in between. So I said, hey, like what they need is not what I need. LeBron already has a $50 million probably per year lifestyle that he needs to sustain. So he needs $1 million contracts. Like if my lifestyle or someone else's lifestyle is smaller, then you don't need the same thing. You just need a similar opportunity and figure out how it fits. So again, when you're structuring your business and you have a huge deal in place, that often means that you have 100 employees in place as well. Like if I only have five, I don't need that same deal. I don't need the same money. I could end up with more coming out of it than the big number that someone might see on ESPN or some media outlet. But in actuality, like I made out better than them, or my equity is bigger. I already know that for a fact. So, if you have a good opportunity and you work hard at it, it could be more valuable than something else that you're looking at from afar. So sometimes just taking that leap, and that's what it was. It was a leap. So I'd like to say in a few years when the player is towards retirement, a little closer to retirement, then he's in a better position. And now he has something that he can directly transition into and say, I know what I'm going to do, but even if I don't want to do this anymore, it's still there.
So why is it important for more basketball players, especially these college guys in
Mhm.
Division II, Division III? Why is it so important for them to be aware of the International Basketball League, the leagues, the Euro League? Why is it important for them to be more cognizant of that?
It's important because sometimes you're looking at something too late. And if you are one track minded and only focusing on one thing, you might think if you don't get it, then that's the end. But a lot of times there are so many different ways that you can accomplish what your goal is. So, when you're young, you want to go to the NBA or the NFL, or whatever you want to do, be a pilot, whatever the case is. If you don't get that, you shouldn't be taught that it's all or nothing. You should be taught that this might be the top, but you can do this to get to it, or you can do this if it doesn't work out. Like being in the environment is just as good as being what you wanted. So, and I figured that out too. Like being an agent, one of my friends once said to me, like, it's like you're in the NBA, but you don't play, because I was at like 5 games a week. And again, it's one of those things that people might see as glamorous on the outside, but it's really like a job. Like if you love watching basketball as a fan, then that's great because you can do it on your time. If you have to go to a game and you know that you're going to be there for probably 4 hours, like longer than most person spends at a game, because you have to either meet with people or talk to players after. Like you understand like what your job is, and it's a grind. but you have to understand, if you're trying to accomplish something, understand what comes with it. Like, if you want a top position, understand that you might be giving up your private life to do it. So
What's next? What do you intend on accomplishing?
I just take opportunities as they come. Like, I feel in a good position right now where I get good opportunities that present themselves, and that's success to me. I'm not, you know, I'm not going door to door and handing out an application. I'm having things presented. So to me, that is my version of success. I don't feel like I'm stuck. So, I mean, I feel good about what's going on, but I don't have anything set to actually, I do have one plan. So, and don't let this leave this, but I want to buy a cable network. So it again is something that just comes with a project you work on, and then you understand from different conversations, like, hey, it can be bigger than you even thought. So that's my next thing that I'm working on.
What are some essential routines for you to have a successful day, like average work day, Monday through Friday? What are some just essential components, like you have to get this done for you to have a completely full day that's productive?
I have to work out in the morning because I feel like I wake up with that energy, so it needs to be burned somehow. And you find yourself saying, "Oh, I can do this later," but then you realize things pop up. So I have the personality where if something pops up, I'm happy about it because I expect it. So I'd rather it pop up and know it than you hear about it too late. But then you have many days where something pops up and it throws your schedule off. So whatever you wanted to do, you don't do it anymore. So being physically active the majority of my life, that part of it stays there. So I have to, for my mental, make sure I get it out of the way. And that's in the morning. No matter what time I wake up, if it's 4, 5, or 6, like, I have to make sure I do something.
How would you describe the book Sports Management Notes?
How would I describe it? Just the tip of the iceberg. There's
Mm.
stories that anyone can relate to, because a lot of people have look to other people for advice, and that's really what it is. Like, other people giving me advice, or sharing their stories with me, and just trying to take those bits and pieces of everyone around me to make it into something. Like, it doesn't have to be something specific, but just using it, and that's what hopefully other people can do with that. And when you have a little bit of knowledge, hopefully you seek more. So, if anyone reads it and then they can get in contact with me, then that can be helpful, because they can start asking more questions, and then it helps me put the next thing out there to say, okay, how else can I help someone get into a position that I found myself into?
UVC 1000, South University Strategies for Success. I'm Dr. Shabazz, and today our guest speaker, sports agent, co-owner of Bnei Herzliya Israeli Basketball Club, Michael Chamblain.